Trump's tariffs and Trump's executive orders, maybe just one executive order, about how it's going to affect trucking and how it's going to make it great again. Because I totally believe Donald Trump is going to turn things around in the economy, and us as truckers, we're going to see a better lifestyle following all his deals that he's going to be going through. Because simply for the fact, Trump is all for the American people. Biden wasn't. As you can see, Biden economics, we had record low paying lows. We had record high trucking companies going out of business. We had too many trucks, not enough freight, and that's causing the brokers to also scam us. Trump, on the other hand, is going to fix things, and we're going to be hauling more loads than ever before. Probably the most ever in the history in the upcoming years if you live in America. We're going to be hauling a lot more loads than you think. First of all, I want to get into the Trump's tariffs. About 25% he's going to tax Canada and Mexico. So, if you have not known about it, Volkswagen has a plant somewhere here in America. Not sure where. I already forgot where. I believe it's Kentucky. Not 100% sure on that. Anyway, they're debating on whether or not they should put Audi into their Volkswagen factory, make it bigger for the Audi lineup. What is that going to cost if that actually happens? Well, more jobs. Second, more goods being delivered and picked up to that factory. So it's going to be more shipment of goods, which means, guess what? More loads for truckers. Yes, more loads for trucks if Audi comes here. And it's going to mean that Audi might be cheaper to buy in the United States because it's already going to be manufactured in the USA because they're going to have a plant here with Volkswagen. That is one of the good things when the tariffs hit Mexico, because a lot of car manufacturers are manufacturing their cars in Mexico. Why? Cheaper labor, and they don't have to pay as much tariffs, and they can keep their money, not get taxed a lot. With Trump in place, they're going to get taxed less, and they're also going to make more money. Also, about Canada. What I want to say about Canada. It's a very interesting topic about Canada. A lot of the steel is coming from Canada, okay? With Trump's tariffs, there's a few metal producing plants or factories that want to put their factories in U.S. Well, one factory in particular, not sure the name, is planning on building a factory, don't quote me wrong, in Ohio. And once they build that factory in Ohio, there's going to be a lot more jobs, and there's going to be a lot more loads of metal being transported, because there's going to be more metal produced. That's what Trump wants. He's all for the American people and more jobs. With more metal being produced than ever before, that's a huge plus. And also there's a rumor that Russia wants to send us some aluminum to help us out, which in that case is going to be a little bit more import, and your container truck drivers will be making more money as well. Also, Trump just signed an executive order saying that nothing should hinder or delay the production of lumber. What does that mean? Well, it also means that trucks that I drive right now and stuff like that probably will no longer require to have a speed limiter, which is the speed limiter mandate proposal, because that kind of breaks the law right there. Having a speed limiter truck delays the supply chain, which means it delays the supply chain of lumber, which means it's against Trump's executive order. So, with that being said, that's one good news. The second, we're going to see a lot more production of lumber, and there's going to be a lot more loads of lumber being transported by truck. And what does that mean? It means more jobs, more money, and hopefully the brokers are going to be scrutinized for not doing broker transparency, because they like to blackmail us carriers for asking how much that load pays to them. Well, and once they figure that out, we'll know exactly what they're paying the brokers, and we'll be demanding for more money on the loads, and we'll be making a lot more money. Because think about it, there's a lot of trucking companies closing down even today, because all Biden's economics forced them to close down. Okay, trucking companies went downhill as soon as the prices went downhill. Well, now guess what? There's going to be a lot more. There's going to be not a lot of trucks, but there is going to be a lot of loads. What does that mean? That means brokers are going to be trying to get that load out, and when there's more loads than trucks, the prices are usually higher. It's called supply and demand. Simple as that. with more loads on the board, you'll see a lot higher paying loads. If not, truck drivers and companies will be asking for more pay on top of the loads, simply for the fact, because that's what the economy is going to want to ask for. And as us as truck drivers, with a lot less of us being out there, we can demand more for us than the other way around. As a matter of fact, I hope to get rid of brokers. That's kind of a far-fetched dream, but one YouTube channel into trucking said that brokers may not exist anymore, simply for the fact a lot of companies are going for contract into contract loads. So when they sign a contract, that's how they get paid. And I'm thinking we're going to see a lot more contract negotiations than actual brokers. Brokers, from one driver I heard, brokers is just the middleman, but guess what? Whatever you see in the load board is peanuts. The actual loads being brokered out are already going to people who have good relationship with brokers. The actual good paying loads that don't make it to the load board are actually going to people and truckers and owner ops that already talked to the broker. Hey, if you got this load coming up, let me know. Whatever you see in the load board is trash, okay? Usually, for the most part. But when the load's going to be going out, so there's going to be more loads than the trucks, it's going to be not trash anymore. That's what we're hoping for. With Trump's tariffs, it's going to set the economy to where we will be hauling more cars, more lumber, more metal, and more goods. And guess what? We're also going to be transporting out of U.S. a lot more than coming in. So container drivers, don't get worried that you're going to be losing your job simply for the fact that there's no loads coming in as much anymore into the port, because guess what? They're going to be exporting a lot more than coming in, and you're still going to be having jobs calling containers from companies and then into the ports. Because I know y'all container drivers do both. Pick up from ports, take it to companies, and pick it up from companies and take it to ports. You're going to be seeing more export than import delivery of goods once everything's set in place. Now, I do not know how long this is going to take. I do not know if it's going to take a couple months to see the effects. I do not know if it's going to take a week. I do not know if it's going to take a year. I don't even know if it's going to take 4 years, but it's going to happen sometime soon. And if you look in your area currently, in my area in particular, the prices of fuel is going down. So we're going in the right track. We're drilling more oil, which means when fuel is cheaper, that means people are going to go do more things, which means it's going to be more busier for truckers. When people go and do stuff, it makes us busy for truckers. Why? Because people buy stuff, people buy fuel, people buy stuff to wherever they're doing, whatever events, which means we're going to be transporting more goods and more fuel to the consumer. That being said, I think we're in the right path in the U.S. right now with the economy. I don't think we need to go back. I think Trump's doing everything he can, and he's doing a very, very, very good job about it. I do wish that we could definitely get rid of the speed limiters 100%. That's a big thing we want to get rid of. But keep in mind, Trump got rid of it in his first term. He could do it now. All I do want to say is Trump is on the right path with it. I talked to drivers that were trucking during Trump's first term, which I was trucking at Trump's first term at the end of his term, not at the start of it. So I didn't understand prices of loads, but I could do tell you, in fact, that people that I talked to said during Trump's first term, trucking was beautiful. Trucking was worth it. And even leading into COVID, into even Biden's first term. After that, it went all downhill. It doesn't take long for everything to go downhill. As soon as the fuel prices went up, I knew exactly trucking is not going to do good anymore until Trump comes back. Or until another Republican president sits. Because when prices of fuel is so high, it's hard to survive as a trucking company. If you're a trucking company that survived through Biden administration, let me know in the comments how was it for you. I know there's a lot of companies that survive, but I'm just saying, if you're a small carrier, what do you do to make ends meet? Especially if those of you who buy a new truck and have to pay payments on, excuse me, a little bit sneeze here, it's a little dusty. I'm unloading currently, and I'm allowed to sit in the truck when I'm unloading because I can easily shut off the pump with the push of a button, and I'm monitoring on my gauges my load, how heavy it is, and the lighter it is, then I know it's almost time to disconnect the hoses and take my percentage readings. But yeah, with Trump being under president, we're going to see the economy better. And also with his saying drill baby drill, guess what? I've delivered goods to a fracking site in Pennsylvania, okay? I've delivered oil rig and supplies to a fracking site in, no, it's not Pennsylvania, sorry, in West Virginia before. I know that's gonna be in a huge demand. So we're gonna see a lot of loads of supplies even being carried to the drilling sites. We're gonna see a lot of loads of trucks coming in and hauling that stuff because Trump wants to keep drilling. And once we keep drilling, it means there's gonna be more loads out there, and it should be better pay for truck drivers. I think in the long run, with Trump being the president, we're gonna see a lot of good in America. Now, I said, I do not know when it's gonna take effect, but I think it should take effect soon, okay? I doubt that we're gonna go anywhere worse. If it's anywhere worse, it obviously means we're in war with the country, just saying. But I see we'll only see good coming out of in trucking. I do see, however, semi-truck prices going up a little bit. Maybe not this year, maybe a little bit this year, but next year for sure, simply for the fact when load's gonna start paying good and when people are gonna be like, yeah, let's get into trucking, you're gonna be rich. That's what happened a couple of years ago when the loads were paying good. Everyone's like, get into trucking, you're gonna be rich. And when everyone buys a truck, all the prices on trucks go up, both brand new and used. And when that happens, it's all good in games until prices of loads drop again. I'm gonna be honest with you. There is never gonna be a stable trucking economy. Okay, there is never, I mean never gonna be a stable trucking economy. We're always gonna have good years and we're always gonna have bad years. But what I've noticed after each time we have a bad year, we do learn something out of it, and we do tell the brokers, we're done with you. Now, what gets us into bad prices? Well, a lot of trucks, a little bit of freight, and bad contract negotiations. Once you're contracted out for a certain X amount per mile, and when your maintenance cost gets high, that's when you mess up and lose money. There's a lot of trucking companies went out of business because of that. But part of it, I blame the Biden administration simply for the fact that he didn't do well, and the Democrat administration made things worse with rules and regulations of truckers. In that 4-year span, they already were talking about speed limiters, which hopefully going to get this just abolished by Trump, which in his new executive order that kind of speaks to terms of abolishing it. And also, where was I? We've seen prices drop very quickly on loads under the Biden administration, and the reason we saw a drop is, I want to say, also insurance rates. The Biden administration was able to spike up insurance rates on semi-trucks. There was some politician out of Illinois that was like, well, this X amount minimum requirement liability for a semi-truck isn't enough. It needs to be 10 million, which means your insurance policy can be quite expensive. Think about it. There's trucking companies that closed down because their insurance policy was a lot of money. I've seen where some companies were saying they were paying about $4,000 a month for one truck on insurance policy. That's too much. I'm sorry. How are you going to stay in business, especially with the low paying rates? How are you going to stay in business with that kind of insurance rates? Also, another thing, Connecticut's a Democrat state. Well, guess what? They decided to start taxing per mile like they do in New York, but a very high tax. I mean, I understand Connecticut is a very small state, so you're not going to be paying much highway tax in Connecticut at all. But here's the problem. It's still taxing the truckers. They were not taxing the cars, they were taxing the truckers. Also, good news already came from the Trump administration. They wanted to tax semi-trucks into New York City for every mile that they drive. Or tollways, absolute tollways only for trucks. Well, Republicans quickly shut that down, and you don't have to pay toll no more while entering New York. Now, of course, you got to pay toll driving to the George Washington Bridge, but I'm just saying, like in New York City in general, they want to have a toll system only for trucks and let the cars don't pay anything at all, which I don't think is right, and I'm glad they got rid of it. Even though I'm not a fan of driving in New York City. I've never been in New York City personally, and I've never been in a truck in New York City. Yes, I've been in the George Washington Bridge because I was crossing over from the New York City side where there's a road that takes you to George Washington Bridge without entering New York City because I was coming from north, but close to New York City, and I went across to go into New York, New Jersey. But other than that, I don't deal with New York City. I just can't do it. I mean, I don't know if you've done New York City, but I just don't New York City. I can do Philadelphia sometimes, and I can do Newark sometimes, but I usually stay away from 3 cities: Newark, New York, and Philadelphia. Now, I could deal with the big cities in the West all day long, but when it comes to those 3 cities, I can't. I can even deal with Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh, when you're picking up a load in Pittsburgh, it's usually an actual industrial site or an actual place where a truck can go and pick up. I wanted to pick up in Philadelphia. I missed the turn. It took me an hour to go around. Why? People are disrespectful. They don't let you turn around, and everywhere's low bridge. You just got to take your time. I mean, yes, I got there safely. I didn't panic, really. I just don't like driving there simply because that's tight. Because the shipper was actually in a residential neighborhood, okay? Like, behind it was a residential. It wasn't industrial at all. That's why I don't like going. Like, if I go to big cities, it got to be commercial. I cannot go into, like, a residential area. So, we'll see what happens in the next couple of months, but I think trucking is going to go back up, and they are talking about broker transparency in terms of brokers can't blackmail you anymore. It's illegal, because once they brought that law, brokers will make you sign like this agreement, say, hey, if you ask us about something, you can, we'll delist you in the system. That way no other broker can load you, which is what I hate completely what brokers do. If it's not low freight, they'll make it a way where you cannot know about what the load pays. Personally, I don't think brokers should be paying more than 10% of the load. They have insurance. Yes, they do. But they don't never need to use it. What do they need to use it for? If you're in a semi-truck and you crash, okay? You crash and your load gets damaged. You're the one paying for it. Your insurance is the one paying for it, not the brokers. Broker has absolutely nothing to do with it. So why they have insurance as a requirement, I have no idea. Maybe because there might be some cybersecurity where they steal a load their cybersecurity. I have no idea. But brokers have the very little liability when it comes to loads, and they take a lot of money out of a load before giving it to you. I think it should only take 10% out of every load, because think about it. One broker can dispatch 1,000 loads a week. Think about it. And imagine if out of those 1,000 loads, those loads paid 100,000 and they get 10,000 a week. That's a lot of darn money for a broker. And truckers, a lot of truckers don't even get nearly as much as that in 1 week. It's very hard to even make gross. Clean? Nah, you're not making it. Gross, you can. But clean? Nah, as a truck driver, as owner-op, you're not making it. But these brokers can make clean profit with only pushing a couple buttons on their keyboard.